Hey guys, welcome to Science. Today we're going to be talking about lab safety. So when I talk about conducting a lab, I'm talking about conducting an experiment. We don't have any specific lab area here in our classroom, so normally when we conduct experiments, it will be in class. However, until we are back in class together, you will be conducting experiments at home. So there's a couple pieces of information that we have to make sure we talk about in order to make sure that we are all safe as we perform our science experiments and observations. Keep in mind, I will not cover all the points of safety today. I will only be highlighting the most important areas and the areas that I feel like we will definitely need to know as we move forward in science this year. So first of all, let's talk about shoes and hair. You should always wear closed-toed shoes when in the lab. Also, if you have long hair like mine, you definitely want to make sure that you pull that hair back, or it might catch on fire, or get mixed in with some chemicals, or you might knock something over. You should wear closed-toed shoes because you don't want to be pouring something toxic on your feet or walking around on broken glass. Speaking of broken glass and knocking things over, bags and book bags and any other personal belongings do not belong in the aisles or on the floor. So please make sure that your book bags and your binders, any personal belongings, especially when you are in school, that they are picked up, either hung on the back of your chair or placed underneath your chair. When you are conducting experiments at home under parent supervision, it is very important that you also make sure that the area around you is clean so that if you have to move, you don't trip. Next, there is no horseplaying when we are conducting experiments. Never, ever. That's how accidents happen. Also, it is extremely important to protect those eyes. To protect your eyes, you should always wear goggles. And when I say wear goggles, I do not mean wearing goggles on your forehead. You should wear your goggles. If for some reason you do feel like you've gotten something in your eye during an experiment, you'll use the eye wash station. The eye wash station is located in the front office, in the nurse's office, and it will require you to hold your eyes open while running them underwater. If your lab involves working with specimens or chemicals, you definitely need to wear gloves. Gloves are super important. Sometimes gloves might make your hands feel clammy, but you know what's worse than clammy hands? Chemical burns. So, gloves are important. If you have an allergy to latex, please let your teacher know. Me. Or, really, if you have any allergies in general, your teacher definitely needs to know about those. When you finish a lab, even if you wore gloves, it's always a good idea to wash your hands after each time in the lab or after conducting each experiment. Some labs may require you to wear an apron to protect your clothes. You may be asked to wear an apron or a snazzy lab coat. If you accidentally break glassware, don't pick it up. It could cut you. Get a broom and a dustpan. Sweep that mess up. If you see glassware that is chipped already, please don't use it and tell your teacher or a parent if you're conducting an experiment at home. Please never eat or drink anything in the lab. That includes chemicals. We will not be using chemicals much this year, but I'm sure after this year you guys are going to have a newfound love for science, and you're going to continue your scientific studies in middle school, in high school, and maybe even college and beyond. So here's some chemical advice. Don't taste or smell chemicals, and always be sure to read the labels. When you're done with a chemical, you want to make sure that you dispose of it properly. Many chemicals can't just be poured down the drain. In fact, some solid items that you're going to use in your labs, in probably high school and college, they can't just be thrown away. They have to be disposed of as hazardous waste. Last but not least, when you are heating things up, do not have the test tube pointed towards you, because as you all know, when things heat up, the particles begin to expand. And then when they begin to expand and start moving all crazy, they turn to gas. And what do gases do? They evaporate. And those chemicals, they're going to be evaporating and bubbling. And if something is pointing at you, where do you think it's going to go? Right in your face. Please do not take any hot substances to the face. And always make sure that if you are heating something on a hot plate, which could be a possibility in our classroom, you use your protective hand stuff like your oven mitts or protective tongs, that we are safe when we're using heated items in the science classroom. So yeah, that was a lot of information, and there's many more safety guidelines that may be specific to individual labs that are going to be done in the future. So you always want to make sure that you go through specific guidelines in advance of your lab. And remember, don't be intimidated. Just respect safety rules and guidelines, because if you're following them, hands-on science is simply awesome. Catch you guys later.